That would be cheating. She remembered what a grade school teacher had said, that time she had caught Margy sliding her eyes over to a seatmate's paper during a test. "That's how a criminal begins," said the teacher. "He cheats in a test and gets away with it. Then he cheats in bigger and bigger things. Finally, he ends up in Sing Sing." Margy had no intentions of becoming a criminal. Yet, who'd ever find out? It was like the old childhood dilemma. If you'd press a button and a Chinaman died in China, leaving you $1 million, would you press that button? Sometimes Margy had decided that she'd press it very firmly. Other times she had decided that $1 million would never compensate for causing a death, not even a Chinaman's on the other side of the world. Well, she had never had a chance at the button, and there was no immediate hope of getting a raise, so there was nothing to decide. Margy planned to pass Frankie's house once more before she went home. She was not in love with Frankie, but he was one of the few boys she knew. She had first become interested in him when he went up for his diploma the time both of them graduated from PS-18. She had known him only as Frankie, an obscure, dark Irish boy. But at graduation they called out his full name, Francis Xavier Malone. The name sounded important, like a mystery revealed. And Frankie himself had seemed important from that time on. She had passed Frankie's house twice before in her walks around the block. This time she was rewarded. He clattered down the steps. She pretended to come out of a deep study with a slight start when he spoke to her. "What do you say, Marge?" "It's awfully cold, isn't it?" she replied in a tone that she tried to make lilting and provocative. "You said it." He was off in the opposite direction, toward the corner candy store for a pack of cigarettes, or to see if the morning paper had arrived. Margy cursed the luck that had made her walk around the block clockwise. If she had been walking the other way, he would have fallen in step with her, and they would have walked as far as the corner together. Frankie wasn't much, she knew, but he was better than nobody. He would have served until a real boyfriend came along. Although it was only a little after 9 when she got in, Flo questioned her suspiciously. "Where you been?" she asked. "Nowhere." "Nobody goes nowheres on a winter night." "I was just walking around." "Nobody just walks around in the cold. You was somewheres and you're afraid to tell your mother." "Oh, Mama," cried Margy. "I'm only telling you for your own good. If you run around and some man gets you in trouble, don't come crying home to me." "I don't know any men. And even if I did, there's no place to go to get into trouble." "There's places, and ways too if you're looking for them," pronounced Flo darkly. "Tell me where you been." "I was only walking around the block, and that's the God's honest truth. Let me alone, Mama, please." "You and your father get up on your high horse the minute I ask a plain question." "Where is Papa?" asked Margy, glad to change the subject. "God only knows, and it's getting to be all hours. Night after night he leaves me sitting home alone and—" Flo talked on, off on a familiar subject. It took Margy quite a while to get warm in bed. She finally accomplished it by pulling the covers over her head and breathing hard in the closed space. She relaxed in drowsiness, listening to the winter wind blowing against the window. How lucky I am, she thought, to have a home and to be warm. It must be terrible to have no place to go on a cold night, just to keep on walking the streets until you die from the cold. And if I get a raise, I'll be glad to give it to Mama. It's a wonderful thing to have a home and a family. The dream started before she was sound asleep. It was an old recurrent dream, a reliving of the time when, as a small child, she had been lost on the streets of Brooklyn. She knew the dream was coming, and she knew the terror it held. Drowsily, she toyed with the idea of rousing herself before she drifted too far into sleep. But she could not fight off the delicious, relaxing weakness. She let herself sink into sleep. It was summer in the dream, a hot summer morning. The dream started with the feeling of warm wind on her legs. She looked down. Yes, she was wearing socks and the new brown barefoot sandals that her mother had bought for her at Batterman's for 49 cents. She had been so proud of those new sandals. The happiness about them